Hey guys, Pie Guy Rules here, and welcome to a Spongey Bits Rant. This time we're going all the way back to Season 4 to talk about the episode All That Glitters. Just so you're all aware, because the audio quality will not be as good as it is right now, this rant was actually recorded over 7 months ago, before I even made the Season 5 video. I got held up working on Season 5 and Season 6, and fulfilling Patreon requests, which is why this thing took so long to come out. Anyway, let's see what I said in my initial review of All That Glitters. Episode 72A, All That Glitters. When SpongeBob's spatula breaks, he buys a fancy new one. Oh, this episode. Yeah, it's got a lot of SpongeBob screaming and being naked, and really not much else. I feel like this episode doesn't have a lot of substance. My favorite part is one of a few montages in the episode, and even that isn't actually too interesting. It's slightly amusing to see SpongeBob fight a pirate with a spatula, but other than that, most other things in this episode just fall really flat. Plus, the episode is predictable as all get out. You know exactly what's gonna happen as soon as he gets the new spatula, and it's not really any fun to watch. Bet his new spatula isn't even hydrodynamic. But yes, this is a
SpongeBob episode,
and a particularly frustrating one. A lot of people would consider this to be the worst episode of Season 4, and while I think there are some worse things in the season, I can definitely agree that it is one of the worst things in Season 4. Let me put it this way, folks. If SpongeEng was the episode that made me give up on SpongeBob as a kid, this was the episode that got the ball rolling, because this was the very first episode that I remember absolutely hating as a kid. When I first watched most of the other SpongeBob episodes this season, I watched them once and then never again. I never went back to them, and I clearly did not like them, but I didn't actively hate them. This episode, I actively hated. The reason for that is that I knew Good Neighbors was a bad episode, but I could never quite place my finger on why exactly it was, and I never really cared to find out because, hey, it was bad and I didn't have a YouTube show to analyze this stuff. And besides, stuff like Wigstruck or Good Neighbors, they're bad, but they're forgettably bad. This episode will stick with you. The reason why this episode sucks is very, very obvious. Plain and simple, every single joke in this episode is dragged on way too long. I'm just gonna go through this episode and list off every single time a joke goes on too long or is incredibly repetitive. First off, it starts with everyone saying Monster Krabby Patty. Then we move on to a montage of SpongeBob crying in exactly the same obnoxious way. Seconds after that, we move on to a montage of SpongeBob and the spatula having good times together, which goes on for way too long.
Then we get a joke about how the guy at the hospital is actually researching for a job, which goes on for a while, and then pops up again later on in the episode, trying to fool you again, thinking the audience forgot the joke initially. And his lines are repeated when SpongeBob thinks back to what he said about 20 seconds ago. Then we have an overly long gag of SpongeBob having to sell things in order to afford the lace spatula. Then we get a long joke about SpongeBob being naked in front of random strangers, Squidward, and finally Mr. Krabs. Then pretty much everything related to lace spatula is just one big haha French and snooty joke. And then we get an overly long speech by SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs about how good old spatula was, which means nothing because this episode is incredibly stupid. Then there's an overly long gag of SpongeBob crying, and he crawls all the way back to the Krusty Krab, which we get to see a ton of. Finally, he's reunited with his original spatula in slow motion. Then we end on SpongeBob trying to flip another Monster Patty, which might have been clever if everything else in the episode weren't just an overly long gag or something that's incredibly repetitive.
And most of the episode is just SpongeBob crying. I don't care if they do interesting things with the animation, it's still really annoying to the ears and really repetitive. There's other problems aside from this too, like the fact that the episode takes not one but two big leaps. First of all, apparently SpongeBob's only had the one spatula this entire time, which has never been noted upon in any other episode. And two, apparently SpongeBob's spatula is kind of sentient, which is also kind of weird in the episode because he's not fully sentient, just kind of. He can move sometimes, he can't talk, but he can emote. He can wheel a wheelchair without actually wheeling it or moving in any way. I think maybe one of these things would have been a bit weird, but having both of them in the episode just comes off as really strange. Fine, you want to make it so that SpongeBob has had one spatula this entire time. You can say that, I guess, non-continuity and whatever, but it's really jarring and weird to see him start moving all of a sudden. Oh, and the episode has the audacity to claim that it's actually trying to teach you something. Yes, all that glitters is not gold. Just because lace spatula was shiny does not mean he's of quality. No, duh. You couldn't pick a more obvious moral. And it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't done in such a way that it had SpongeBob staring at us with his cold, dead eyes claiming, all that glitters is not gold, while he's crying in the background. It's like they're trying to hypnotize you, the message. It's really off-putting. This episode has a lot of problems, and what's worse is that it doesn't have many redeeming qualities at all. I struggled to find the highlight for the video. What I ended up picking was ultimately something really small. Yeah, the pirate fight is kind of fun, and it would have been much better if the entire montage of SpongeBob with Spat had just been that, but it's not really that great. And there's really nothing else in this episode that's even close to being good. Maybe the first joke where the guy was trying out for the soap opera could have been funny, but it definitely wasn't the second time. Which reminds me, I've spoken before about how I think some SpongeBob episodes just feel too soap opera-y, and this is definitely one of them. I think they're trying to parody it, but it really doesn't come across that way. It's all played fairly straight with Spat being in the hospital. All it really does for the episode is set it in a very serious, negative, non-silly tone, and none of it feels genuine anyway. I said that SpongeBob's speech was stupid because the episode is bad. Well, it's also stupid because it really doesn't make much sense. SpongeBob never wanted to replace his spatula, but you know, it's something that he kind of needs for work. Yeah, he shouldn't have gone with the shiny one, but that doesn't mean getting a replacement was bad in the first place. It's not like SpongeBob actively replaced Spat just because something else was shiny. Maybe the moral could have made sense that way, but as it stands, this entire episode just doesn't make any sense. It's repetitive, it's annoying, and it is very obviously a scumbag episode. At least it is to me. Maybe someone will have some good defense in the comments. Pie Guy rules, out.